Greetings, fantasy baseball fans. Man, did I intend to check back in with you guys a lot sooner than now. It has been a busy time for Coach Dye, despite the fact that I think I have more free time than I usually do at this time of year. But I don't know, time fills up, that's for sure. Hey, we're going to talk some fantasy baseball. The only video I did was a preview, and that was, that's probably been 4 months ago by now. And I feel like these videos help me with my own process as far as just evaluating seasons, evaluating decisions, and that sort of thing. So I want to get back into the habit, and I'm going to try and do it once a week. I have expanded my fantasy baseball interests by two. Last video I had 2 teams. Now I have 4. I have had many seasons where I've had a lot more than that. But I did want to have a more global approach. If you have just your 1 or 2 leagues, especially if they're local or family, I think you lose a lot of perspective. The advantage, I think, of having multiple leagues, or even just doing like mock drafts and stuff like that sometimes, is being able to recognize when something happens and it's an outlier. If the same transactions are kind of going on across leagues, then okay, that's pretty much the way things are going. But then all of a sudden, you end up with like a Christian Walker who got cut in one of my leagues this past week, and that's not normal. I feel like that was a mistake by somebody, and that's when you want to pounce. You want to capitalize on those things, and I did. So we'll hopefully get to that and talk about it. I wanted to start with, this is what I would consider a big money league. I won't talk about numbers, but it's more money than I put into really anything as it relates to either fantasy sports or gambling, or I don't bet anymore. And I've always been really good at maintaining limits and that sort of thing. This was a league actually, again, where I was asked if I wanted in, and of course I jumped in. I said yes, because the person who asked me was a very good friend, and then he told me how much it was, and I was like, ooh. So I already have a plan for next year. If it doesn't go well, I've got a guy who will co-own with me, and we'll 50-50 this thing. He actually wants in, period. He wants into a spot if he can get his own, but I'm not in charge of that in this league, so we'll see how that goes. I did watch my preview video before getting into this one, and I wanted to point out a couple of things just to kind of keep the themes going. I went into the draft understanding that in this league in particular, it's on a Yahoo format. It is a hitters league. Last year I picked pitchers going into 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and for what it's worth, I sat and looked at last year's draft and sort of mapped out when did everybody else pick pitchers, and I think the earliest was 6th round. And a lot of people waited until like 9th. I made the determination I was going to probably go 10th or 11th round before I picked a pitcher this year. And we'll see how that went here. But just to kind of verify first, my 3 keepers were Pete Crow Armstrong, who I got for a 12th round pick, which I thought was pretty good. Roman Anthony, who I got for a 19th round pick. And then I did pick Michael Busch for a 21st round pick. Again, I think first base is a little interchangeable, and that might be a hot take. I don't know, but it really seemed to me like it didn't matter who I put. I had Alonso last year, and I had Bush, and I was just back and forth, and they were fine. Both of them were fine, and the talk is that Alonso is great, and I guess that's fine. I just didn't see it. It didn't seem to affect me that much. So let's look at what I did in the draft. So I have a spreadsheet. It actually has some of last year's results on it. And so that's the 2025 pick acquisition column. And then I have a 2026 pick acquisition column. And there are some players that do duplicate from both years. So it'll be interesting to point those out. I ended up with the 8th pick. First year I ended up with the 9th pick. So if there's anything I would say in this league that I hope works out better for me, I would love to be like top 4 sometime. I feel like that's got to be a better place than the back half of the league. It's a 12-team league. So, you know what? 1-8. I took it. And I was really expecting that a lot of people would keep players that would keep them out of the first, second, and third rounds. And that was not the case. A lot of people let some really, really good players go back so that they could have those early picks. And I'm keeping a note of that. For example, if Roman Anthony, if I keep him next year, he'll cost me like a first, second, or third because that'll be the second year I keep him. So it really seems to me like the best way to go is find those guys that you really got the draft value for later and keep them. And don't use up your first round picks and second round picks and stuff unless you have like an Ohtani or a Judge or, you know, someone who's really going to fill up the stat sheet for you. So I went into the draft with outfielder Crow Armstrong, outfielder Anthony, and first base Michael Busch. I had said I wasn't going to keep any pitchers, and I didn't. So 1 for 1 on the prediction scorecard there. 1-8 came to me, and I was 99% sure I was going to end up with Kyle Tucker, and I did. So far, he's been a little cool. I think as the season goes on, he's gonna really heat up, and he's going to be great. So I'm not worried about him at all. Notice now I have already filled my outfield with that pick, which I really liked. But it gets a little bit better, I think. The one that's really starting to concern me is Jazz Chisholm. I picked him with my second pick. He's gone on record saying he was going for a 30-30 season, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases. I really hope he's right. So far, I'm not seeing it. In fact, he makes some boneheaded plays, and I'm probably stuck with him because he's the only second baseman I've got. But man, so far, not so good. I came back in the third round and got Bryce Harper. He does a little platooning depending on if it's right-handed, left-handed pitchers and stuff like that. He's still worth it. He's a superstar to me. I want to go and check real quick, by the way, because one of my Phillies brain thought processes was Schwarber, and I can't remember where he went. So I want to go check the draft order here in a little bit, and we'll see where he went. But Harper, I think, was my consolation prize for not grabbing Schwarber. But I can tell you now, I think I should have gone Schwarber instead of Chisholm. I'm almost sure of that now, but again, regret being the true and endless cold, right? Notice here a fourth outfielder, Duran, I picked in the fourth round. This is where I was well into my pitching selections the first year, and I am off of the pitching selections, as you can see. I went with shortstop C.J. Abrams in the fifth round, and I went third base Bregman in the sixth round. And then I double tapped shortstop. I almost said social studies, SS. But I went Adames in the seventh round. And this is the point at which I started my internal draft value monologue. Tells me that Adames is probably not a seventh round pick. And yet somewhere again in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, but in this league he is. You do not deviate from the hitter path until you have your batting order filled, was the way I hoped I would go about doing it. So Adames, two shortstops. I thought, I remember last year having Volpe and not much else, and having to try and figure things out. I just didn't want to do that. So I got me a couple of guys at shortstop, and then notice here, eighth, I did a pretty extended explanation in my previous video about catcher was something you might have to gamble on a little bit, because Cal Raleigh just killed it last year, and it was just such an advantage for what anybody else had. And so I went out and grabbed a catcher in the eighth round. And I remember last year's draft, thinking catcher would be the last thing I'd pick, and it would be 15th, 16th, 20th round, whatever it was. It was Herrera last year, and I was just like, man, I really think what I need to do is, when I see one that might have some upside, grab him. That was Baldwin for the Braves. And then, if you'll notice, 2 rounds later, I picked up Herrera. I got him really late last year. And I picked second catcher, because what I want to do is take 2 guys who I can move in and out, especially on off days and stuff like that, and at least try to keep pace with guys like Raleigh. I don't know if they're necessarily doing that, although Raleigh has started cold this season. Baldwin has been awesome, and I have him in more than one league. So far, so good on that. You'll notice here, though, in the 9th round, I picked Nievaldi Marte. And this is one of those things, again, last year my horrible pick was Clase, I think in like the 5th round. He ends up suspended for life and who knows what. I feel like if Marte ends up being a bust, I'm probably going to be able to weather it because, again, I'm so surrounded in other areas with hitters. He got sent down to the minor leagues. I'm going to keep monitoring this, and if I get a chance to snap him back up, I will. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. That does put some pressure on that Bregman pick because I did pick Marte because he played third base. Really hope Bregman just holds that down for me. But honestly, in the past, I would not have cut a 9th round pick, no matter what it was. But I have discovered with this particular league, man, when it's time to move on, it's time to move on. So I cut him. My first pitcher was in the 11th round. And I'm very proud of myself for this because I think I was the last one to pick a pitcher. It was MI for the Astros, and of course now he's on the injured reserve list. But the beauty of that is in this league, when you go looking for pitchers, they're going to be 60-70% rostered, most of them, or less. But you're going to find a lot of guys that are, viable. I have not had to go pick up pitchers, even despite the fact that he was put on IL because my next pick, notice Pete Crow Armstrong was already a keeper in 12th round. I picked King, who's been great. He's been really, really good for the Padres. Lodolo, who I remember waiver wiring last year and liking, so I picked him up. And, of course, now he's on the IR. But then I went Williams, who I also wavered last year. And he's been doing okay. Imanaga has been really, really good. He's probably saved me a little bit. Rasmussen. And so here I am in, the 17th, 18th. I'm picking my closer in the 18th round. And I can just tell you now, as smoothly, at least, as my roster has worked this year, that has definitely paid off. So there's my Roman Anthony. Here's another reliever in the 20th. Here's Michael Busch. So you see, I kind of went all hitters, and then I really started hitting that pitching blank spot that I had. So here's Sasaki, who has been very disappointing this year. We can talk about him in the Dynasty League that I've got. McClanahan, who I thought was a little bit of a risk. I actually picked him for the Cy Young like 3 years ago, and then he blew his arm out. And so now he's back. And he's done okay. And then I ended up with Victor Scott, another outfielder, which I thought was really cool. Went on the waiver wire. I had an open spot because of some of this IL stuff. I was able to pick up Garrett Cole, throw him on the IR. And then I went and grabbed Jordan Walker. He was cut by a team, and I picked him up immediately because he's been hot. And I had missed out on him on my Dynasty team because I didn't wait long enough. Also picked up Fernandez, who's a young guy, and then Marsh, who's pretty steady. These guys, I think to my credit, just so you know, Fernandez and Marsh have not entered my lineup yet, unless it's been like just an off day for other players or whatever. So I've got some depth if I need it. Really liking this team. Here's the kicker. We are 1-3. We have not done well. We're 11th place out of 12 teams. And I think maybe 11th place in scoring. We've not been doing great, but I feel okay about it. We're always competing. We're always in there. In fact, 2 weeks so far this season, we've been leading going into Sunday and then lost. Last year, I remember when we started the season, I was always behind, but then came back on Sunday. I think it's a good sign just counting the number of days you're in the lead. And if they're catching you on a Sunday because, they saved a pitcher or whatever, then that's just the way it is. But I have been pretty impressed with this team. It's running a lot smoother. I do think it is a playoff team. 6 teams out of 12 make it. And I think this is probably, a better than average team for sure. So we'll see. Last year, I remember trying not to get too happy when I was 6-1. And I think I ended up, by the way, 8-12 is how it all ended up. I'm trying not to get too down, even though I'm 1-3. And again, just plug away. Last year my goal was 500. I didn't make it. This year my goal is going to try and be again 10-10 or better. That's all I'm trying to do. Sneak into the playoffs if I can, and then just see what kind of damage we can do. So that's the plan with the Circus Maximus cleanup crew, which, by the way, came up with that name because of the carnage from last year with the Holidays and Confused, and also because my Roman Anthony keeper, I figured something Roman was probably appropriate. So there is the team. I'm going to try and update you on them next week. Right now, we are in pretty good shape, playing a pretty good team, and we're leading. So we'll let you know how that goes. I was going to go into Yahoo and show you the draft and just see how all that panned out. So give me just a moment, and I will do so. Thanks for your patience. Here we go, looking at the draft. I wanted to recap this real quick with you guys. So I had Kyle Tucker down here at 1-8, and then I came back with Jazz Chisholm here at the 2-5, and I was curious. Schwarber went right after that, and if I again had this to do over, I would have taken Schwarber instead of Chisholm. I don't know why I didn't do that. I'm just kicking myself. Actually, now that I see it, now I'm not kicking myself. He was a keeper. That's why I didn't do it. Had he been there, I would have taken him. So I let him go last year. This team picked him up, and then they kept him. And then they're going to get to keep him next year, too, I think, if they want to. So that little decision might end up costing me for a while. But I would have really liked to have had Schwarber instead of Chisholm. In fact, I'm thinking now, had he been available, I would have taken him for sure. Looking over here, I picked up Bryce Harper, and I'm not really seeing... this was a keeper. I would have taken Ronald Acuna, but he was a keeper. Cruz, a keeper. I can't believe that dude kept him. So whatever. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. I was also curious. Here's some pitcher keepers, Skubal and Crochet, which I think are fine. But I was kind of curious when the first pitcher went. Hunter Brown might have been the first one, and he again went in the 4th round. So once again, I really feel like in this league, if you really take a look at it, the only pitchers in these first 3 rounds are here's Logan Gilbert. So somebody took him in the 3rd. Most of your pitchers are going to be keepers. And I think it paid off for me. I think over the course of a season, these pitchers are going to show themselves to either, be on the injured list or just not deliver on the level that the hitters deliver in this league. And so we will definitely see. Here is the league, and I had mentioned that right now I'm not doing real great. Here we are at 1-3. I am keeping this waiver priority on purpose. I've only made 5 moves. Notice how these guys are all loading up the transactions. I like saving my transactions. You get a limited number for the year, and I am doing the least amount of them. So we'll see how far that gets us. We're playing the Kubasa team this week, and we are winning as of this moment, by 19 points or so, and we're projected to do pretty well. I have noticed I tend to set my lineup for the week going forward. I like to have it kind of planned out. Most teams just set it by the day, so these projections don't really mean much because they haven't gone through and set their lineups for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday yet. So anyway, we're on week 5, and I'm still feeling like I'm probably going to end up being okay. If the results as they are now hold, just looking at this league, I would jump up to 9th place, which isn't great. But it's a long way to go, and I'm only a game out of 3rd place. So if we can start putting some points together and just grind it out, I think we're going to be okay. Here is a little extra league that I ended up doing. I call it Ike's Chili. Now this one is a dynasty league. This one is not. just a redraft. So the big money league we just talked about, it's a big redraft league. This one is a dynasty league, so it is free. So there's no pressure here. And I've been doing pretty good. I'm 2-2. I'm in 4th place. I'm 2nd in points scored, which is all pretty positive signs. Let's go to this is the first year that we've done this one. Ike's Chili. It appears had the 7th pick. So again, I'm still picking at the back end. I went Jose Ramirez first round. I love having a strong third baseman. Came back with Vladimir Guerrero. If you're going to be strong at first base, that's the guy I think you need to get. And then back here, I came with Jackson Churio, who's been on the IL, and I'm still doing well points-wise, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But also, again, was going with a lot of hitters. Here's Perdomo. Here's Langford. Here's Terang. So I'm not even picking up a pitcher. I picked up my catcher in the 7th round. That's not normally my style. First base in 8th round, and then Quan, an outfielder, in the 9th round. Looks like it was a little bit of a carryover from my other league as well. So I picked up my first pitcher in the 10th round, which again I think in most leagues is probably the way to go. So feeling pretty good about this team, and I'll keep you updated on it. Right now we are winning, I think, pretty handily over a 1-3 team. It looks like a team we probably should beat, based on how things have gone so far this year, and really kind of doing well league wide. Here's a guy though, it's 1-3, who's really kind of picking it up. This Tuna Fishes team absolutely destroyed me. Probably the worst fantasy baseball loss I have ever suffered. But here we are in 4th place. Made 13 moves, which just looks about average. There's one team that hadn't done any. And I did pick up a couple of people on this team, I think, that shouldn't have been cut. This one was the one I think that had Christian Walker. That's not the spreadsheet I wanted. Here we go. So this is Ike's Chili, Swing and Miss Yahoo League, free league. I ended up cutting Detmers, Jacks, and Made. I picked up Weatherholt off a free agent claim, and again in a dynasty league, that just makes no sense. He shouldn't have been out there. Did do a couple of relievers because I felt like I had shorted myself reliever-wise, and Iglesias and Estevez. So I had some reliever problems, but for the most part, man, I've just been rolling with this team that I drafted. Picked up McCullers. He's been doing okay. And Glass now should not have been cut. South Stewart should not have been cut. So I feel like this team's probably going to end up at least being in the playoffs and competing. I do have a couple of now Fantrax leagues, and what I would like to do is talk about the less important one first. So this one is on Fantrax. Also went Ramirez first pick, and I had the 5th pick, which was a little bit more encouraging. Also went Vladimir Guerrero. So notice how I went kind of back-to-back here with the Ike's Chili, and I also went back-to-back here with the Swing and Miss. In fact, I even went with Churio 3rd in all 3 of them, or in both of them, so in all 3 picks. But then things started to deviate a little bit, and this Roughnecks team in Fantrax, I'll just look on my phone here real quick. It's doing okay. Again, it's going to compete. It's going to be in the playoffs, probably in the long run. One of my better jobs at drafting. Let me get to the right league first of all. So we're in first place. We're 2-1. We're in first place, and really kind of just leading the league in points and just really doing well in this one. So not much to say on the Roughnecks. Lots of pitching constraints. In fact, I was going to say this league and my big money league, you only get 5 starts a week, which again, just to me, makes pitchers not worthless, but it lends itself to get all your hitters first. Go all hitters and then go all pitchers. It's pretty much the way it goes, and that so far has panned out. So we'll see how the rest of the league goes. But yeah, Tulsa Roughnecks was kind of a spur of the moment draft kind of thing with a friend of mine, and it's a dynasty league, which I'm really excited about because I got Connor Griffin here, who I think is going to be a superstar. Muramaki, who's going to be a superstar. Just some really good young talent here. That team's going to be fun to run for a while. Let us talk for a moment, though, about year 3 of the Dynasty League that we are in. And I made a lot of trades on this league. We had talked a little bit about Freeman in the last video. We talked a little bit about Snell. I ended up actually trading with someone else than I thought I was going to. And what I really wanted to do with this league, I'm the commissioner. I didn't want to torpedo anybody. So number one, this person that wanted those players, I took their first round pick off the board this year. I wanted them to have their first round pick. But I did take their first round pick next year. But then I gave them like a later pick in exchange. So it's really, and again, in baseball, especially deep dynasty baseball, these picks are kind of interchangeable. They're not really as valuable as they are in football or other things. So I made a lot of trades this year. One, again, Snell and Freeman to that person. I made a lot of trades with the guy who took over our horribly mismanaged team and helped him out. And he's doing pretty well. But he took O'Neal Cruz off my hands, Eugenio Suarez off my hands, who I love but is just old. And I'm really set up now for next year too. In the draft, I don't have a pick. I don't even have a pick past like the 6th round, and I have like 2 picks every round. So 2027 draft's going to be pretty fun for me. So far in the Dynasty League, this one I really try to just stay in the middle. It's a 10-team league. 6 teams make the playoffs. So you really just have to just hang in there as far as grinding it out. And then again, the 2 seasons we've done so far, the 5 seed has won it all. So if you can get in, even at the bottom, you're probably going to be okay. We are 4-2. It looks like we're 2nd in scoring. Yeah, but there's some really good teams. In fact, one team who had quit and then decided to come back is now actually doing pretty well. He's 3-3. Last year he finished 7th, and he's in 7th this year, but he's really got a chance, I think, to move up. He's got some pitchers coming off the IL, and I think he's going to be fine. So as far as the draft goes, just know here's Ellie De La Cruz and Shohei Ohtani. I'm not trading either one of those. Nailers started really slow, and I think I've got these sorted by roster percentage, by the way. I really hope he turns it around. Here's Turang again. Iglesias, I think he's on the IL right now, and I've been expecting that. He was a waiver wire pickup at one point, more than a year ago by now, probably. Pitching is coming around. I did end up cutting this guy, so I can just change that to white right now. And as far as the players that I picked, at least interestingly enough, I went pretty much all prospects if I remember right. The one thing I would point out as far as Dynasty goes that has been pretty disappointing, here's Jason Dominguez, who right now is in the minor leagues. But I have him on my bench. I don't even have him on a minor league spot because I'm just waiting for him to come back. He has been a gigantic disappointment, and that is for sure. Same with Dylan Cruz. So I have 2 outfielders who I picked up in the startup draft who right now their career is going backwards. And that has been a little bit disappointing, that is for sure. So both those guys, I don't want to give up a minor spot. So they're just sitting on the bench, and now I have 12 minors in the minor leagues, and I have 2 minors in hanging out on my bench. There was another guy too I picked up as a minor, and he's also on my bench. He signed a contract extension, so I'm expecting him to get in there and play at some point. That is for sure. So this team's got some growing pains. It needs to get better. I did trade for Nico Horner. I traded away a pitcher. I think it was Rasmussen for Nico Horner, and that has kind of saved me because, again, Jackson Holiday is still figuring his career out as well, and Horner's been great. So also Doug Baldwin, who, again, I picked up off the waiver wire, has just saved my bacon. And, really just in this league, it's a matter of just watching what people cut, striking when an opportunity arises. And, you draft Rutschman in the 4th round of the startup thinking he's going to be Johnny Bench. And he's not. He's sitting on my bench all the time. I've got 2 catchers in front of him. So I will say in the 2026 draft, I did end up grabbing Sheehan in the 2nd round. He was not a prospect, but just a Dodgers pitcher I felt like was worth picking up. And, other than that, here's a bunch of them. I picked up Holiday's brother, Ethan. So he's going to sit on my minor league squad for a while. Here's a bunch of 2026 picks here. Bremner, Witherspoon, Dax Kilby as an 8th round pick, just hanging out, waiting for him to grow. Ike Irish, who I just thought the name was kind of cool. Here is Pratt. This is the guy who just signed a contract extension. So I really think he's going to end up playing this year. And I'm really hoping that that works out. So you have seen all 4 of my fantasy baseball teams. Right now, we're just hanging in there. At least nobody is, over. We're at least, getting our victories where we can. But I'll try to check in once a week. In the baseball, I'll probably do 1 video for each update. I am going to start some football preview stuff, and that is going to be 1 video per team. And I do have a lot. I've been kind of gearing up for that for a while. So stay tuned, and we'll get you some fantasy football preview good stuff going. And we'll keep basketball in bed at least until June. That's for sure. So that's the plan. All right, you guys stay safe out there, and I'll see you again.